Let's continue with Donald Trump. You can't really escape him, can you? Last week, he reversed a key ruling that underpins all government action on curbing planet-warming gases. He said it would save the American people over $1 trillion in regulation, but it's a move that's been widely criticised by scientists, environment groups, and the cost savings that he quoted have been challenged. So we want to find out from you if climate action can save you money at an individual, a national and a global level. Or do you feel like it's costing you money? Is it saving you money or costing you money? Just give us a call, 08085 92 95 00, or send us a text on 80295. Do you feel like climate action is saving you money or is it costing you money? Have you made any lifestyle changes recently for environmental reasons? Have you cut back on any purchases? Have you made any purchases that you hope to save you money in the long run? I'm thinking of those expensive light bulbs. I remember we shelled out 15 quid for a light bulb, thinking it'd save us quite a bit of money. And I'm not sure if we've made that back yet. Give us a call. Let us know your experiences. Or send us a text on 80295. We can speak now to Lucy. Lucy is a mum of 3 and a content creator. Lucy, what are your thoughts on this? Have you managed to save any money by being climate conscious?
I'm not sure if we've saved money as of yet. I think time will tell whether we save money. What I have found is that as a mum of 3, recycling, it does take up quite a part of our day that we weren't used to before, because obviously there is additional bins, and certainly I have a small kitchen and we are putting some things in our black bin. Then we have to have like a kind of recycling area for all our recycling that's going out, and then we have our food waste bin. So it does take up additional time, especially when you're making dinners and pack lunches. You're trying to juggle that plus putting everything in the correct recycling bins. So it is quite time constraint.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that a lot. I remember before I had kids, it was very easy to recycle. We barely used the black bin, and then as soon as the wee one came along, everything was reversed.
Absolutely. And my kids, they don't eat the same meal. So it's 3 different meals and 3 different kind of recycling things that we're doing. So it is quite a lot. We would love to get an electric car and kind of support climate change that way. But again, it's an additional cost. You're having to put, the battery charger on your house. And then it comes down to in 10 years' time when the battery, what's happening to that battery? How is that getting kind of disposed of? There's just not enough information yet that I would be inclined to go and buy an electric car.
Yeah. Do you think there's enough support out there to help you make these green choices? Because, everyone wants to recycle. Everyone wants to do the right thing. But an electric car, it is a significant outlay, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we are doing it as a country, that's great. However, if other countries are not following suit, the Americans, they're still driving these massive cars with massive engines with all these fumes and pollution. If just a small country like Scotland is only doing it, is it going to make a difference globally? I don't know.
Yeah, it's. Do you think that if there was more incentive to save money, you'd make that extra effort to?
Absolutely. Well, I certainly would. I can't speak for everyone, but I certainly would. Anything to kind of save money or make additional money, of course you would.
Right. OK, let's see if we can speak now to John Grant. John, you're a senior lecturer in climate change and sustainability. We were just talking to Lucy there. Mum of 3, she's trying to do the right thing. It's not always easy to, and the cost savings aren't initially there. What kind of advice would you have on this?
Well, it depends at what level you want to talk about. Oh, thanks for having me on, by the way. Sorry, I want to jump straight in.
Yeah.
It depends at what level you're talking about here. If you look at it, sort of government support, they should be looking at all of this as an investment rather than a cost. And they know what the long-term advantage to all of this is. So surely they should sort of take it on the chin to help people like your last caller to do the right thing, because they know that eventually they're going to profit in switching over to an electric-only economy away from all of this polluting. That was a really good point about these giant vehicles. If you look at the size of vehicles over the last 20 years, they're not becoming more efficient. They're actually getting worse on the petrol side of things, even though electric cars are a huge saving in terms of efficiency, how much effort it takes to move those along. But how do you cost that in? You've got to give people the opportunity to do that with some kind of subsidy, and it for the most part, it isn't there. And then where do people live? You know, you talked about recycling, which is always a great thing, but I don't think that saves people a lot of money, does it? It's just a really positive thing to the environment. For me, from where I'm sitting here in the university, energy efficiency in buildings is a massive opportunity that has been squandered. You know, the last government kicked into touch, asking builders to build more efficient buildings, and now here we are building normal houses that aren't as efficient as we were planning to do 10 years ago, and saying, well, these heat pumps are a good idea, but they don't really work in inefficient houses. And it's like, oh my goodness, 10 years ago we should have been pivoting to produce houses that would work much better with that, and we didn't, to save short-term amounts of money. And that's where we are here. We're in short term, and we've got children who I really want to protect their future, and it doesn't seem as though that's our priority.
Yeah, well, we've had a text in from Eddie in Clydebank. He's saying tackling the climate emergency has to be done regardless of the cost. And I can understand that, especially when you think about, you know, it's our kids who are going to be inheriting this situation. You know, the time for action was yesterday and not now. But John, you were saying that, you know, governments really are focused on it. They've got a very sort of short-term kind of approach. They're trying to win the next election, and it's difficult to do that when people are seeing their costs go up. And we're in a bit of a catch-22 here, aren't we?
Well, because people who, if you follow the media, historically, a few years ago, it was climate change isn't that bad, or there are some positive aspects to it, or something like that. And now it's become really obvious that climate change is awful. They've pivoted away from that to say, oh, it's really expensive, or it might be even too late to do something about climate change. So we shouldn't bother. And these are the same people talking about that. They're trying to control the narrative to scare people that it's going to be really expensive. No change comes free. But I can tell you with absolute certainty, and there are a few things that you are absolutely certain, that the resilience and the adaptation to what climate change is coming is going to save money, because business as usual, or not paying to change, is going to cost us massively more than changing now. Even though there may be a cost, it should be seen as an investment, not a cost. And that narrative needs to be changed by government, by media outlets, and, you know, giving people a voice like Donald Trump, who it's just flawed arguments that there is an amount of money to be spent. Yes, there is, and it's huge amounts of money, but the mid-term and long-term advantages of that is undeniable. And the question is, who is going to be losing out? Who is this cost going to? And it's actually, for the most part, the really large companies who want business as usual to continue, so they can continue to make profits, whereas the person that just called in or texted in, they're the ones that are going to be given an advantage. And it's rare that we just do a big bucket of it's going to cost 1 trillion or 100 million or whatever, rather than saying let's save money for the people who are struggling. And those companies that have, you know, the oil and gas companies are arguably some of the most profitable companies that humans have ever seen. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's time to roll back a bit on those, because they don't pay for the negative impacts that the consumption of their product is doing to all of us and our kids.
Okay, let's bring in Professor Keith Bell. You're a Professor of Future Power Systems at Strathclyde and a Co-Director of the UK Energy Research Centre. What do you think about this, the cost of moving over to more climate-friendly options?
Yeah, I think John's described a lot of the issues very well there. The big factor, I think, is the fact that the kit costs so much money. I think, who was it, Lucy, you had on, was saying she'd like to have an electric vehicle, but buying that car is expensive. There is a premium to be paid relative to a combustion engine equivalent at the moment, although that difference is coming down. and coming down all the time, and that's both for new cars and for second-hand cars. But the big advantage is that the cost of running that electric vehicle is so much lower than that for a combustion engine vehicle, and it's in large part due to the energy efficiency. You don't need to buy as much energy to do the things you want to do, as well as the fact that obviously the electricity, as the kind of emissions impact of electricity production comes down, that is so much cleaner than the combustion engine car, and you've got fewer kind of tailpipe emissions as well. So our urban environments are going to be much cleaner, as well as the cost of running your EV being lower than that of running a conventional car. Well, and the other part of it, I was going to say, was about your heating. So we spend a lot of money. Most of us, 85% of homes are heated by gas at the moment. So electric heat pumps are much more energy efficient, somewhere between 3 and 4 times as energy efficient as a gas boiler. But the challenge is that it costs quite a lot of money to change over from a gas boiler to a heat pump, and quite often when you're doing that, depending on what the home is like, you have to change a load of the radiators as well. So that's significant, although it only happens once. You only need to do it once, and then you can start to benefit from the lower bills.
But that's the thing, is all these options, there is a significant financial outlay, getting your solar panels on your roof, getting a heat pump. I mean, we've just had to replace our boiler. That's but it's quick and easy and can be done, and it's done from the fraction of a price of doing installing a heat pump, which seems to a lot of people like experimental technology and incredibly expensive to do. I mean,
so the first thing is, it's not an experimental technology. Actually, it's a technology that's very, very well established. Lots of other countries have been using heat pumps for heating for many years. It is quite unfamiliar to us and to the industry. The fitters and technicians who are going to be installing these things. So, okay. And it can be difficult to find the right contractors who have got the experience and can come and do it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's that lack of familiarity more than it's not really experimental.
Okay.
But you're right, it is a hassle, and it is expensive to get it done.
Let's speak now to Laura Anderson, better known as Less Waste Laura. Laura, you've been listening into this conversation. As a campaigner, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there are cost savings to be had, and I classify them in 2 ways. There's the short-term savings that you can make, and then there's the long-term savings. I've tried to be a bit more conscious with my lifestyle for many years now, and I found that there were a lot of quick wins. Getting rid of a lot of disposable products and getting reusables instead saves you money. So I've got reusable sort of kitchen roll fabric, I've got reusable period products and cotton pads. A lot of these things will save you money instantly. You can also now rent occasion wear instead of buying lots of new fast fashion. There's lots of things that you can do to avoid, buying brand new things and buying a lot of consumption and creating a lot of waste that will make you little short-term savings here and there that add up. But of course, there's also long-term savings. So when me and my husband bought our house, we instantly put solar panels on them. We didn't have all the money up front, but there's now great schemes where you can actually get things like solar with no upfront cost.
Okay.
So that's saving us loads on energy. We've gone from 2 cars to 1. That's encouraged a lot more walking and public transport. So there's longer term savings to be made as well, which I think is another benefit that we'll see in years to come.
Which is good to know. It does seem overwhelming at first, but there are smaller things we can do to make those little savings. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for that.